Labeling your food, Congress takes on GMOs. Ahead here tonight on NTV's Grow, we get reaction from Congressman Adrian Smith. Plus, we meet the farmers of tomorrow, learning to be leaders today, and celebrate County Fair time in Nebraska with your Farm Youth of the Month. Get ready to grow. We are here at the Hall County Fair, the sheep show going on behind me here. And one thing I do want to make sure we mention, this is a great time of year for 4-H'ers. There's a lot of hard work being put in out there. Please try to make sure that you're showing your support. And the main thing is just getting the confidence built up in these young future ag leaders. As for your news, the GMO law is expected to be signed by the president. That would make it law. The legislation would require most food packages to carry a label that indicates whether the food contains genetically modified ingredients. The Ag Department would have 2 years to write the rules. The White House says Obama will sign the bill, which would preempt a Vermont law that kicked in earlier this month. Citing betrayal over the GMO bill, one group of organic farmers are actually stepping away and stepping down from the Organic Trade Association. They are called the Organic Seed Growers and Trade Association. Their decision was prompted when some OTA board members endorsed that Senate bill preempting existing strong state GMO labeling laws. The organic seed farmer and longtime President Jim Garrettson says, quote, "The Organic Trade Association can no longer be trusted, and it's clear that organic farmers can no longer condone this dubious trade association's troubling behavior," end quote. And we asked you to weigh in with our Twitter poll about GMOs. We asked, do you think items containing GMO ingredients should be labeled? 76% of you say no. Labels mislead people. 20% say yes. People have a right to know. Make sure to follow us on Twitter and share your comments. Making tax credit available for domestic production of biodiesel. There's legislation out there aimed to do just that. Making the credit available helps the U.S. focus on the domestic industry instead of subsidizing imported biofuels. For producers, the American Soybean Association says it means security to grow their operations and diversify the fuel market. It also has an effect on livestock. Biofuel is a byproduct of soybean production and is driven by demand for protein meal, according to the ASA. The Nebraska Ethanol Board calls on the EPA to rethink the impact of ethanol. The Nebraska Ethanol Board joined the Clean Fuels Development Coalition and ad hoc coalition of clean energy advocates in calling on the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency to recognize the true carbon reduction of ethanol in the Renewable Fuel Standards regulations. They argued the EPA has not updated their life cycle analysis since 2010 and say many improvements in ethanol feedstock and production have reduced ethanol's carbon intensity dramatically. Decades of fertilizer use has consequences in the Hastings community. The Utilities Board approved a couple of contracts totaling more than $3.5 million. Dirt work may begin soon for the aquifer storage and restoration project. It's to deal with high nitrate levels and can be traced back to agriculture decades ago.
I remember when the fertilizer came, and when we started using fertilizer. And so it's a long time coming, long time problem developing, and it's going to take a long-term solution. And I appreciate our people here and the engineering talent here to look at a solution.
The board awarded contracts to Van Kirk Brothers of Sutton to get the project started. There are several phases and tens of millions in expenses. A new report is showing a bigger than expected winter wheat crop. According to the National Ag Statistics Service, it now expects the nation's wheat production to come in at over 1.6 billion bushels. The number is up 8% from the estimate just last month, up 19% from last year's crop. And here in Nebraska, wheat harvest continued this week. The latest USDA report showing 38% of harvest complete. That's a big jump from last week when 20% of the crop was cut. Southwest Nebraska near the end of harvest, more than 80% finished. Yields are seen as excellent, 60 to 80 bushels an acre, and many producers in south central Nebraska are also wrapping up with wheat harvest. Harvesting wheat with heart, neighbors helping neighbors. That's exactly what happened in the Loomis area with a harvest bee after a tragic accident. About 20 farmers donated time and equipment to cut nearly 400 acres of wheat near Alma. The group pitched in after Loomis farmer Galen Ferdinand died in an ATV accident. With about 12 trucks, 6 combines, 5 grain carts, from the field to the semi to the elevator, this wheat harvest bee helped in several ways.
Just be Wayne and his mom, really to do this 400 acres of wheat, so it would have taken them a long time, and you got the risk of a storm coming through and having it hail out or something like that, or wind blowing it over and losing your yields that way.
Those yields from last week's harvest bee brought in more than 19,000 bushels of wheat, which was transported to the CPI elevator in Reagan. With profits razor thin, farm practices are becoming even more expensive. The University of Nebraska survey shows many custom farm services are rising in price. The statewide average for disc harrowing increased 14.1% an acre, combining dryland corn, including tractor and grain cart, rose 9%, an increase of $3 an acre, up to $35 an acre. Farm delivered fuel costs have declined, but the cost of labor is going up. Despite the challenges of the economy, a new crop of leaders are needed in the growing demands of this world. NTV's Steve White has more.
The average farmer in this country would be nearing retirement age in most other industries. But while there are those opportunities, many challenges lie ahead.
The center of the global discussion.
The world needs farmers.
There's always going to be a need for food.
There's always going to be a demand for what we produce.
For crops and animals.
That demand's going to be found all over the world.
The 17 and 18-year-old farm kids sitting in these seats may be the 50-year-old farmers of 2050, when rising income and population will see huge demands on food production.
These kids have a really bright future if they choose to be involved in ag.
But the present is a little gloomy.
Prices are suppressed. We've seen a recessed economy now for a little while. But really, when you look at 9 billion people by 2050, and you look at the amount of food production that we're going to have to come up with, the energy that's going to be needed, the long-term potential in this industry is phenomenal.
And getting kids to see that potential is the goal of NAYI, the Nebraska Agricultural Youth Institute.
I've met lifelong friends already and enjoy meeting new people.
NAYI is kind of where I decided what major I wanted to go into and decided that I needed to be in the ag field.
And for Jacob Schlick, it opened his eyes to a high-tech future, scouting crops with unmanned aerial vehicles.
NAYI, I learned about the UAVs through the UAV technology that they've been using in agriculture, and it's opened up new opportunities and hopefully a career.
Agriculture needs new leaders.
And the purpose of NAYI is to empower your potential today.
And this is one way to develop it.
They're out there. We just got to find them. We got to find a way to encourage them to take on those tasks.
And while the event is in its 45th year here in Lincoln, in the past year they've also taken it off campus, both to Omaha and also central Nebraska. Steve White, NTV News, Lincoln.
Some Buffalo County parents are a little concerned when it comes to budget cuts in 4-H in Buffalo County. While a big focus of 4-H is on farming and agriculture, parents in Buffalo County say some of the creative courses in 4-H are helping shape child's future, and they hate to lose a staff position related to consumer science.
I do believe that the arts are just as important as the sciences and sports and those kinds of things, and that we need to be well-rounded people.
So they say they are writing letters and making calls to the county commissioner, asking for their support in more funding. Now, this is the Hall County Fair going on, but also this last week, the State Horse Expo was underway for 4-H, and there was a new arena that they invested in, and it was really put to the test with that event. Here's NTV's Steve White with more.
Go, go, go!
Riding for a ribbon.
All right, go, go!
4-H kids compete in the State 4-H Horse Expo.
riding, doing what we love.
And fans cheer them on, shaded from the sun.
We love the new stands. I think the exhibitors really appreciate having some shade to sit in that's built in and not having to bring their own shade for everything.
In the past, families brought their own canopies or put up with the sun and pitched lawn chairs because bleachers filled up.
Really, really hot, and we worry about horses getting overheated and youth getting overheated, and so maybe this will help with a little bit of that.
When the State Fair moved to Grand Island, horse facilities were a low priority.
Been a horse place here for years with Funner Park.
Fair leaders say now it's time to invest.
Showing horses and racing horses are two different things.
The Nebraska State Fair has put about $50 million into this Funner Park campus, and most of that, all of that, pretty much has been on the west side of the grounds, and we're just now starting to make it over here on the east side.
The State Fair 1868 Foundation set a goal of $900,000 to build the Thompson Foods open-air arena, but also put away money for maintenance.
It's by far the biggest project we've done. It was a big undertaking when the State Fair Board came to us and asked us to raise the funds.
It's changed the flow of this event, but kids approve.
It's nice. The improvements are really good.
And it opens the gates to the future.
You'll see more and more events on the venue as time goes along.
Meet your Farm Youth of the Month from the Webster County Fair. And next, we take a closer look at plant tissue sampling. Don't go anywhere.